These are the long tube headers that I recommend for a 5.7 Hemi Ram. If you got a Ram, you plan on getting some headers, these are the headers that I would recommend to you. What's up, y'all? Happy Friday. Welcome back to another video. And these are the long tube headers that I will be recommending to you guys that I personally think is the best. If you out there trying to buy some headers for your Ram, these are the ones that I think that you should definitely get. But before we get into that, I want to say welcome back. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And one thing I gotta say though, man, like this channel, definitely I have been seeing some growth and stuff, and it definitely means a lot to those who are supporting the channel still and who are pretty much new subscriber, old subscriber. Just so y'all, I definitely appreciate that. Comments also too, definitely notice those. But I'm just trying to express that before I start talking about the headers that you could get for your 5.7 Hemi Ram. So I know right now this truck, we're not doing no mods, but I definitely got some mods coming in for this month and next month for the truck. So you guys definitely want to be able to stick around for that. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Hit that subscribe button. Definitely support the channel. I would definitely appreciate it. I gotta put my window down real quick because I'm toasting right now. It's a little bit too hot. I didn't expect it to be this hot because it's not really that hot outside today. Don't want to get copyright, so I had to put the window down a little bit. So long tube headers, why this is important before we start talking about it. Long tube headers is something that's definitely important for your Ram, because you gotta understand the stock headers, manifold that's on these trucks are garbage. You do not want to keep those on your truck for any longer. Normally they would have like issue with, like, I know most people who tend to not upgrade, or sometimes this is something that's common that I've heard, that the bolts that are in the exhaust manifold, sometimes they break off, or sometimes they start to get to the point where they rattle or something like that. But I haven't experienced that issue yet with my Ram, but that's what a lot of people tend to say. But now headers, the reason why they are important, because they are a huge part of your vehicle when it comes to you trying to make some power and also get that real nice Hemi sound coming out of your exhaust. This is something that definitely go hand in hand with exhaust and camshaft for a 5.7 Hemi Ram. So what would I recommend that you get if you out there trying to find yourself long tube headers? Honestly, I would say to number one, this is the order I would this is the order I would go with. I would personally recommend, for my first one, would be Cook's long tube headers. Now, Cook's long tube headers, I know just a little stuff to throw out there, is not the headers itself, but I mean, it's not the brand itself, but I know most people that upgrade the headers on the Ram, most of the time when you're going with long tube headers, I don't know about shorty headers having the same issue, but long tube headers, I do know that it does come with like a slightly fitment issue and stuff like that, where I think is sometimes you just got to mess around with it to get it to fit, but it still fits. It's not like it's going to be like a very big issue. But Cook's long tube headers is definitely one of the best brand, one of the top best long tube headers in my personal opinion, that you could put on a Ram, not for quality, but also for the fact that the sound that you get from it. And also it's one of the ones that a lot of Rams tend to get to, even though they're super expensive. But I think it's definitely worth it though. You know, you get what you pay for. Now, next one on the line is going to be the American Racing headers. Those are very similar in my personal opinion to Cook's long tube headers, but are also around the same price range. But American Racing headers are strictly, I would say, strictly for, you know, if you're going to use your truck for racing and stuff like that. But you could also use it as a daily driver also with those installed on there. But I would say that's definitely will be my number two. American Racing headers are definitely one of the best headers that you could put on a Ram. Number three for me will be BBK. BBK is something that's common too, I'll say, common for a Ram 1500s, but also not expensive, but definitely affordable too. Um, I'm not really like would choose a BBK long tube header for my Ram, but it's still one of the best ones though, I'll say. Not that I have any kind of problem with them, but it's still one of the best ones that you can put on your truck. Definitely has a nice low deep tune to it, and I would definitely say that would be like one of the ones I would say I would definitely recommend. Now, my fourth one I'll recommend to you guys would be this one. I forgot the I forgot the name of it, but let's just say when it comes to my mind, I'll mention that to you guys. But right now, these would be like the top three ones that you could buy for a Ram. The top three headers I recommend that you can buy for your Ram if you're out there trying to find a good quality long tube headers. I think, all right, it came to my head. So JBA long tube headers. I know those are not around. They stopped making them years ago, but I think you can still probably find them used. But it depends though on the quality too, because that's another. Those are the headers that I think most people are saying it's like a 50-50. Some people complain about them. Some people also say they give one of the best sound out of a Hemi, which I could agree to it because I have heard those in person before and they sound real good on the Ram. So, but if you plan on getting some headers, this is what I could recommend is whenever you switching over to long tube headers, they're not gonna they will fit on your Ram, but it does require you to do a few adjustments. I think on the driver's side, you have to adjust, I think your oil dipstick or something like that. You have to adjust it more just so it doesn't have to touch it. But everything fits on there as it should though. But I would definitely recommend to get either of the ones that I mentioned. But there are different brands out there too. I think I have not mentioned yet, but I wouldn't say just because I didn't mention those, they're not good brand. But these are just like my personal opinion on like the ones that I like. Like this truck right now, when I get headers, long tube headers for my truck, I'm gonna go with I think probably American Racing headers or Cook's long tube headers. In my personal opinion, those are the top two that I like for my truck. But I mean, you just gotta headers is one of them things. Is like at the end of the day, I always mention this, like whatever parts you putting on your car, truck, it's like you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. I know price is very, very expensive when it comes to headers. Sometimes some people, buy, headers from like long tube headers from on eBay, like off brand and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend you going with like an off brand, even though because they're like what, probably $400-$500 on eBay. But I wouldn't recommend doing that just because of the fact that this is like your headers is like a mod that play a huge part into your vehicle performance, and it's something that's going to be on your vehicle for quite some time. So you cheaping out going with like a very off-brand headers sometimes cost you cost you more money later on down the line. You're going to have to replace them. And it's long tube headers is pretty cheap on eBay though, but I wouldn't say it's something that if you plan on going the route of getting long tube headers, buying it off eBay if it's like a knockoff brand wouldn't be something I would recommend for you to do. Honestly, I just think that it wouldn't be worth it at all in my personal opinion. But to each his own. Most people, you gotta save money. But I just think the smartest thing to do when it comes to buying car parts, spend the money that you're afraid of spending, because it will all pay off at the end though. Like that's what I at least that's my knowledge on whenever I'm trying to buy some kind of expensive parts for my vehicle, because quality does play a huge factor when it comes to you modifying your car and stuff like that. Even now with my coilovers I have in my truck now, those I spend a decent amount of money on it, but I definitely would say is recommended than regular lowering springs on the front end. You know, these are fully adjustable. Um, Definitely could go a little bit lower with the truck, but I do want to use my four-wheel drive, so I'm not gonna go lower than expected. But that's just my personal opinion. You know, everybody got their own personal opinion, but it's always good for you to do your research if you buy any kind of car parts. At the end of the day, do your research, be patient. That's all it takes. But with that being said, I'm out to end this video. Appreciate you clicking on this video. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one.